Okay, so in this tutorial I'm going to introduce you how to create or embed copyright within an image that you've photographed perhaps you've taken, or any graphical work that you've generated that's of your own creation. Um, you'll notice at the moment I've taken an image and I've embedded this copyright symbol on the top of it. But similarly up here, if you look at the metadata for the file, the information on the file, this copyright symbol has been attached to it, and that's all embedded within the file info. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to recreate an example of this just to show you how I've gone about doing it, and let you go and try it yourself. Okay, so I'm just going to open up an image, a photograph that I've taken and edited myself. Okay. Now this isn't a massive image, but for the purposes of the tutorial, it'll help cover everything that we need to know to be able to go forward in achieving copyright embedded within the photographs or your images that you plan on creating in the future, to protect them. So what I did was I used the custom shape tool, which you'll find at the bottom of all your preset shapes. And up at the top here where you've got your properties, underneath this section here where it says shape, there's a drop down menu, and it gives you a variety of different kind of commonly used shapes that can be dropped in place. So I'm going to select the copyright symbol, and just holding shift to constrain the proportions, I'm just going to draw that and pop it in place. Now you'll notice that it generates it similar to the shapes that we've been using before in the past, which allows us to be able to go in and edit it at any point. I'm quite happy as it stands at the moment just having it white. There's a couple of different ways you may have noticed copyright being applied to images. I'm sure everybody will be aware of this symbol. But in terms of when they're applied to graphics, there's a variety of different ways that you can go about doing it. You don't really want to have it as obtrusive as this, where it's kind of taken away from the image. So perhaps maybe dropping the opacity, just having it like a light watermark would be suitable. You may look at applying things like a layer style, perhaps a kind of slight drop shadow, a bevel emboss, and perhaps even a layer blend mode. So if we go to something like multiply, and I'll just bring the opacity up a wee bit so you can see it, and click onto my background layer, you can see what I've done there. Okay, now that's one way of going about doing it. There are a variety of other ways of going about creating your own watermark. One may be generating your own preset brush, which is something we'll look at in another tutorial. However, if you look on perhaps maybe photography websites, or even websites that provide a stock of images, they all have their own different formats of watermark across the images. And essentially what this is doing is it's going to make it harder for somebody to be able to take your image and then edit it, despite how good their Photoshop skills might be. But also it makes people aware of the fact that you own this piece of work, has been owned, and it can be used without permission or by paying a fee or whatever. Okay, so another way of going about doing this, what we're going to do is we're going to hide this shape layer. I'm going to make a new layer. I'll just move that up to the top, sorry, so it's on the top. And I'm going to use a preset brush that I'd created. Okay, so under my brush you'll notice it's actually already selected, but my brush presets here, down at the bottom here, this is one that I generated and created myself, and as I said, I'll go over that in another tutorial to show you how to do that. Now I have my colour set up as white, the difference being because this is a brush and it's coming through as a kind of rasterised version or a rasterised image, I won't have the same ability to be able to go in and change this shape the way that, or change this layer of the brush as I did with the shape. So I'm just going to click and paste that in place, and I can just go and apply the same properties. For ease, what I'm going to do is go back down to this layer and copy that layer style, so I can copy the properties I set with the effects, and I can simply just paste that layer style on top of my layer. Okay, it's even copied the layer blend mode and also the opacity. Okay, so that's me applied my watermark. The next thing is to apply the file info, which is going to embed the copyright symbol, and any other information you wish to embed within the image under this file information. So if I go to File Info, and there's a variety of different tabs, but the one that we're looking for here is the description. Okay, and I'm going to start off by giving the document a title. Now the photograph is of Goat Fell on the Isle of Arran, so the photograph I've taken myself, so I'm just going to keep it, that's the name of it. It might be whatever else if you've generated a piece of work, a composition, or having maybe used the drawing tools, painting tools within Photoshop. You might want to call it whatever you choose. And the author is myself. It was myself that created the file, so put my own name and my title. And I can give a brief description if I wish about the photograph. You can also rate these images. Could come back to you on the purpose of these, to be honest with you. I don't really know how the user, when generating, would go about rating it. I mean, personally, if it's myself and it's 5 out of 5 for a cracking image, then I'm just going to do that. The description of the writer would be myself again. Now, this point here with keywords would be to identify how it could be ciphered, it could be searched for and found within something like Google Images. If your image is used on a website, or it is published in some way, shape or form, where it is accessible through the internet, then keywords attached to this are what's going to, that's what's going to pop up or allow you to find it within a search engine, for example. So if I was to type in Goat Fell, and perhaps maybe Arran, because that was where it was taken, Scotland, whatever else that you find might be relevant to your image. These keywords are, as I say, are what's going to allow it to be able to be filtered when you then search for it through a search engine. But that all depends on whether it's actually out there, or if it's published on a website and it's accessible to somebody to be able to search in the first place for it. They're not going to be able to type this in and find it if it's only saved on your computer. So the copyright status is copyrighted, and the copyright notice is where you would perhaps put in some information about, for example, if you wish to use this image, please contact me at, and give an email address or a contact detail of some sort. Or perhaps maybe you want to put in that, in order to be able to use this image, you would be required to pay a fee of X amount. Please contact me here. Copyright info URL, again, this comes down to where is this used. If it was embedded within your own portfolio or an interactive portfolio, or it was used on a website, then you could pop in the URL here, which is going to allow somebody to go directly to the website where this image has been embedded. Okay, so once you're happy with all that, it's just a case of hitting OK, and then all we need to do then is save this file. So if I go to File, Save, and I'm just going to change it to JPEG and change the name of it to Copyrighted, so I know the difference between that and the original one, and hit Save. Now you'll notice up here now in this metadata we have the copyright symbol attached to it, and all the file info is here within this image. Okay, so just to show you, if I go back to my memory stick where I took the images, I now have the copyrighted version and I have the original version. Okay, so you can give that a wee bash, try applying it to an image. Now remember, if you're applying any copyright to an image, it has to be your own creation, it has to be your own work. Okay, you can't apply copyright to anybody else's work. In the same note, you can't take anybody else's work without getting permission for using it. So, this will give you an understanding certainly on how to go about protecting your work from the get-go. And I'll look at generating or showing you how to generate a preset custom brush in another tutorial after this.